Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Nasa Strand. Today on the channel, I'll be showing you how to make this cut together play suit. It has no waist joining. If it's something you're interested in, you want to keep watching. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, do well to subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. With that being said, let's get right into this tutorial. So for this, I will be making use of an Ankara. I have 3 yards of this, and I also have my zip. Now if you want yours to be longer than what I have in my intro video, you'll be needing 3.5 to 4 yards depending on your size. Now to start off, we'll go ahead to fold this into 4. We're going to fold this by the length. So you're going to fold this in a way that the borders are matching, and then you fold again, making it 4 folds. So you fold first with the border lines matching, and then you fold again, making it 4 folds. So this is what I have for mine. After that, you want to go ahead to place your vertical measurement, taking your shoulder to the bust point, your shoulder to the waist, and your shoulder to the hip, and go ahead to just make your lines across this. Okay, so since this is a cut together play suit, we're cutting the up and down together. The next thing we want to determine is our crouch extension. So to do this, go ahead and take the circumference of your hip and divide that by 4. So for me, my round hip divided by 4 is 4.4 inches, because my round hip is 44 inches, but I'll be making this 4.5. So I'm marking 4.5 inches on this point which I have marked, and I'm taking that to the full length of my fabric fold. After doing that, I'll go in with my rule to just connect those lines together in a straight line. So it's important for you to take this. So take note that this jumpsuit, we're going to be cutting the sleeves together. We're cutting everything together. So you want to pay attention so that you know how to go about yours. So the next thing we're going to do is to just label the various points. We have the bust, the waist, and the hip. I've just gone ahead to just make initials at those points. Now starting from the line which I've marked, I'm going to take half of my shoulder measurement and I'll mark it down there. Then I'll come down from that point by 1 inch. I will also make a mark. Remember, I said we're doing a cut together. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now for the neckline, I used 3 inches because I'm using a zip at the back, so this works perfectly, and I just connected it like so. I'm going to come down by my armhole depth, which is gotten by dividing the round bust by 6 and adding 1.5 inches. I'm going ahead to make a vertical and horizontal line at that point. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do the cut together sleeve later on. So that becomes our chest line. Now over to the neck area, we're going to determine our neck measurement. So for the front, I'm using a neck depth of 4 inches, and then for the back, I'll be using a neck depth of 1.5 inches. So you can go down as much as you want. For yours, it depends on how wide you want it to be. I went up. You can see I marked 5 inches initially, and then I used 4 inches, and then for the back I used 1.5. So for our neck pattern, we're using a simple C curve. I'm just going to use my curve rule to just cover those points. So you can also use a V neckline for the front if that is what you want for yours. So now that we have that down, what we're going to do is to impute our horizontal measurement. We already have the vertical. So before we impute that, so the next thing we're going to do is to take our crouch depth. So to get your crouch depth, go ahead and divide your round hip by 4. After dividing your round hip by 4, you want to add about 3 inches to that extra, and then measure from your waist downwards to achieve that. Now from this point, you extend your tape by 1 inch, and then use your curve rule to just create a curve going into this point like so. So this is what we have for the crouch curve. Remember that we're cutting our front and the back together, so you want to ensure that you're taking the right measurements like you should. Okay, so this point I was determining the length of this, even though I went on later to reduce it because the fabric it didn't work out for where I wanted it to stop. It wasn't looking so nice, so I had to, make some changes to that. Now back to our measurements. Now we're going to next thing we're going to do is to go ahead to determine our armhole curve. So I'm going to take the measurement from this top point to this end, and I'll get the midpoint. After getting the midpoint, I'm going to go in at that point by half of an inch, and I will make a mark. So just don't really take this seriously because we're not going to use this. Okay, and then I marked quarter of my round bust and just created the armhole curve. So this is just an initial armhole measurement, even though we're going to alternate this to get the cut together sleeve. So I'm going ahead to just place my horizontal measurement. So starting from the bust area, I'm adding 2 inches extra to this. I'm not adding any darts. Okay, so 1 inch will be for stitching, the other one will be for ease. Now around the waist area, sorry, I'm also taking that measurement, my waist circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches. I did the same thing around the hip, and I'm going in with my rule to just connect those points which I have marked. So you're going to use your curve rule. See the way I'm using this, so that it gives you a definite curve. Now what I want to do at the end is to just flay it out from the hip to the edge of my fabric at the end. So if you don't want it this way, you can just make it straight to the end. Okay, that it gives it this free look at the end of your pants or your jumpsuit, in this case a play suit. So now what we want to do next is to work on our allowances, the zip area. Remember I said we are cutting the back and front together. So now the next thing we're going to do is to determine our sleeves. Now you want to take the measurement of where you want your sleeve to end. So we already have our shoulder measurement there, and I'm going to just extend this other point to where I want the sleeves to end. So this definitely works. What I have remaining on here works there perfectly. So if your fabric is more, you can actually have more. And then I'm extending my chest line. So we're going to just create a curve going from the bust line into the chest line. So just watch how I'm creating this curve to give us that cut together sleeve. All right, so this is what we're going to have for the sleeve area instead of attaching a sleeve to this later on. So we're cutting everything together. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So now what we're going to do, since we're not using the first measurement we took from this other end, go down from the shoulder by ½ inch instead, and then connect it to the neck width. So this, watch what I'm doing. This is how you're going to do it. So you go down by ½ inch from this end and then connect it into the neck width. Remember, we're not using this other one. This is what we're going to be using to work for this. So the next thing we're going to do is to work around our curves or around the crouch area. So now since we're cutting both the front and back together, we have to make differences, like we have to make different measurements in order for this to work perfectly well. So now for the front, we're going to be adding a stitching allowance of ½ inch, but before that I want to like cut open this since I have this part closed up. So I'm going to pin my fabric first so that it doesn't move. You need to be careful while you're working with your fabrics. I'm going to just go in with my scissors from this end and then split open this end from the base down to the top. Okay, so now we have that down. We actually have this separated since we have 4 folds, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. So like I said, now for the front, what we're going to do is to add a stitching allowance of ½ inch. That is for the front. So I'm going to mark for the front where we're marking, sorry, is ½ inch. So just take that ½ inch allowance from the neckline of the front down to where the crouch ends. So I was trying to use my free hand, but that wasn't coming out nice. So I used my rule so that I have this line straightened up. And then around the crouch area, you're going to add that half inch down to the crouch. Now for the back piece, what we are going to add is 1 inch instead, considering the fact that we're adding a zipper to this. So go ahead and measure 1 inch for the back, and then you're going to measure half inch for the front. I hope you understand, and you can see how I'm taking this measurement also down to the crouch area. So we have the back and then we have the front. So now you want to watch how I'm going to cut this. So before cutting this, I want to extend this to meet this line. I would advise you to actually make it more open than what I have here. Instead of connecting this way, you can just leave that end like that. It's going to give you a nice fitting also. So now we're going to cut this out. We're going to start by cutting out our back first. That's around the crouch area. You cut out the back first before you cut out the front area, and then we cut the other parts together. So watch what I'm trying to say. So I was trying to ensure that my measurements were looking nice. So around the waist area of my back, I went in by half of an inch to just snatch that area more so that my zip can be relaxed instead of being puffy. So this is how we're going to cut. We're going to start with the back. This is how we're going to cut the back, also cut the back neckline, and then you can end there, and then take off the back piece and then trace out for that of the front. Okay, that works perfectly, right? If you don't understand it, please watch carefully. You're going to get the hang of it. So this is what I have, and then I'm going to cut out the shoulders together and go ahead to trace out the sides I will not be needing together. See, this is actually all of my fabric for this project. Like I said, I used just 3 yards. If you're using a crepe fabric, you have more, unlike the Ankara that we have 45 inches for the length. So now this is what we have for our pattern. The next thing I want to do is to mark my pocket. So I came down from the waist by 1 inch, and I'm going to make a notch there. Then from the waist, my pocket is going to extend to where my hip point area. So I made a notch at that 1 inch point. I came down from the waist, and then I'm making a notch also on my hip point area. So this will help me determine how to place my pocket. So for the pocket, I have this little piece of fabric here. I'm just trying to work with this. Actually 4 of them placed together just the way we cut out our piece, and I'm tracing out the ends and the sides to determine, like, to get that pocket I need. So after doing this, actually I didn't really get that the pocket opening I marked out on my fabric, but I still made use of it perfectly. I'm going to show you how to stitch it down. But if you have more fabric, just take the measurement from where you came down from your waist to the hip area where it's going to start. That's how it works perfectly. And then you cut out your pocket piece. Ensure to cut out 4 pocket piece so that you can work perfectly with it. So now we're going to just mark the wrong side of our fabric. I'm using an Ankara that is actually quite confusing, so I want to take note of this so that I don't end up confused. So now what I'm going to do for the back, sorry, this is the front, I'm going to go ahead to stitch by half of an inch from the top down to the crotch area. And then for my back piece, remember we are adding a zip to this. You want to determine where you want your zip to end. I'm using my zip to just check out where I want this to end, and I'm going to just mark that point where I want my zip to end. And then from that point where my zip will end, I'm going to stitch by half of an inch down to the crouch curve area. That is what I'm going to do. So sorry, you stitch by 1 inch, and when going into the crouch you stitch by half inch. So this is what I have for the back. After I finish, you can see the opening there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to be placing my pocket. So you're going to place your pocket right side to right side on your fabric on the parts where you notched. Now remember I said the pocket width wasn't exactly what I cut out. It wasn't matching with what I notched on my fabric. So I'm going to start from the top, that's the waist area, to stitch, and then whatever is left at the end, I will just close that up when I'm stitching the sides. So you do the same thing for the front piece. You also repeat the same thing at the back piece. Stitch your pocket to those points which you have notched. So ensure that your pockets are aligning on both sides. Don't want one side to be at the top and the other to be at the bottom. So I'll just go ahead and stitch them and come back and show you. So this is what I have after I finish doing that. So this one, you can see that one part of my pocket was actually different from the other one. It made it difficult. I had to loosen it and then fix it back. Okay, so take note of that so that you don't go back to your machine, you don't start losing and stitching again. So ensure that whatever you're placing for the front piece, you're also placing it to be matching on your back piece. So now what we're going to do next is to align the shoulders, and we're going to stitch the shoulders down by 1/2 inch on both sides of our piece. And after stitching down the shoulders, we're going to go ahead to stitch the sides. Now to stitch the sides, you're going to start from the armhole opening. And you're going to stitch 1 inch and go into the pocket, stitch 1/2 inch, and then stitch down 1 inch to the ends. So this is what I have after I joined it together. You can see how nice this is coming out, right? It's coming out looking great. Actually, it's looking quite nice. Now what we want to do is to align the crouch area of our piece front to the back. You're going to pin it down at the midpoint, ensure that the lines are matching perfectly. After that, you want to stitch it down on the sides. Okay, you're going to go ahead to stitch it down on the sides after you finish doing that. So the next thing I want to show you is the neck piping. You can use a bias, an already made bias to pipe. You can use a facing, but since I don't have a lot of fabric, I'm going to be using my fabric to pipe my neckline. So I have this, I've gone ahead to cut. It measures 1.5 inches in width. What I'll do is to start from the back. I'm going to fold it into two firstly on the right side, and then I'll start from the back and just stitch it all around the neck area firstly. Okay, I'll just go ahead and do these two things and I'll come back and show you. So this is what I have after attaching the crouch area together, and for the neckline, this is what I also have after stitching. So I've only stitched from the back. Now I'm going to take what I have remaining to the front and just stitch it. So this is just a way of piping it down. I feel this is better than using an already made bias. So what I'm going to do next after closing that up is to just fix my zipper. So this is what I have. I fixed my zipper. I have packed my neckline. So ensure that your zip opens freely. It's important that after stitching your zip, you check that it can also open. So now at this point, I've already worn this and I didn't like where this ended. Okay, so what I want to do is to just reduce the length a little bit. Okay, it was giving me this since it wasn't getting to the floor, it wasn't giving me a nice look, so I wanted to take this higher than what I had here, okay, to achieve what I have on the intro video, what I have when the video started, the intro video. So I just took this up a little. You can absolutely ignore this part of this video. You can decide to just leave yours like that, or if you went ahead to cut yours long, you can actually do that. So I just started to reduce the length of this so that it gives me a nicer look. You know, there's one thing with the ends of your trouser or jumpsuit looking shabby, it doesn't make it look nice. So I just took off a little inches, about 2 inches actually, not much, and I went ahead to just cut it out. I ensured that my piece, they were equal, both legs were equal before cutting it out. It's important, if you're cutting yours, ensure that they are equal, and then go ahead to take off the parts you want to take off. So I just took off 2 inches from the ends of mine. So now since I've finished doing that, what I need to do for this is to go ahead to hem the base, which is the leg area. I'm going to hem it by folding it twice by 1/2 inch and then folding the ends of my sleeve also. So this is what it looks like after I finish doing that. We've come to the end of this video. You can see how nice this looked at the intro. I advise you make a longer version. You're going to enjoy wearing this to everywhere. And I went ahead to just make a belt to tie around the waist. If you enjoyed watching this, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Okay, let me know in the comment section what you think about this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.